Back to Lamson Family Farms. So we have had a very busy couple of weeks. We are doing hay. So I didn't think we were going to be doing hay this year, but the neighbor showed up and he said, "You guys want to do hay?" And we said, "Definitely yes," because our fields are getting very long. So this is our second weekend working on hay. Last weekend he did our front two fields and we got a lot off of it. So we're doing square bales, but these bales are a little bit smaller than what we're used to. We're used to like 70-pound bales, and these ones probably weigh like 35 to 45 pounds, very roughly. We took, I think his count was 745 bales. So we moved all of that last weekend. Julia and I were very sore. And this weekend, he is giving us some hay off of his field. So he's got about 200 more bales. So we're getting that moved. And so we've got 2 days worth of good weather and then 3 days worth of rain. And I think after that, depending on the weather, he might do our big alfalfa field. And I expect if we got 745 bales off of our front fields, which I need to look it up, but I think it's about 3 acres. This field is about 6.5. So it's probably going to be another 750, 800 bales. But I will tell you what, it feels good to get hay in the barn. So we have been steadily chugging along on putting up the hay. Our neighbor is so nice. He's so helpful. He's just the best. I really like him. And he's been doing a great job with the hay. It's, the hay was past its prime, but he has gotten it dry. It's the driest hay we've put in the barn yet. I think it's between 9 to 11% moisture, which is super great. Definitely horse quality as far as moisture content. I think it will be better for the second cutting because, the tops of the grass had already started to go brown. So it's not at its best nutritional value, but it is dry, good hay. So very happy to have it in the barn. And so today's Saturday, we're in the middle of July, I forget the day. But so we're probably going to try to get the 200 bales from his fields done this weekend. And then next week we'll see about the weather and see what we can do next. So that's our middle field, and then we have a tiny little bottom field back here. It's not even going to be worth doing hay out of it because before I knew he was going to be coming to do hay, I mowed like half of it just to get it cut. And so it's just really scraggly. It's not going to be worth doing anything with. But we might also be taking some of the neighbor's bottom field, which they have to go through our property to get to. And they don't need it because they don't have animals this year. So we might get that. I'm not quite sure. But in any case, it looks like even from this first cutting, we will have enough hay to feed all of our animals for another year. So that is awesome. And depending on what we do with horse boarding, we might have a little extra, or if we end up not doing horse boarding or don't get very many people wanting to do horse boarding, I'm really hoping we have enough hay to get us through 2 years. Having 2 years worth of hay in the barn would be such a relief. And so then if we didn't need to worry about hay next year, that would be great. Obviously we would take hay if we had it, but like if we were in a place where it just wasn't going to work out for us to need our own hay next year, it'll be okay. Or like if I get all the pastures fenced and we just want to have everybody grazing outside next year, that would also be fine. And then maybe in 2026 we would either have our 14-acre hayfield done and ready to go, or we would be in a place where we would just buy hay.
So this is a time lapse of us doing hay last weekend. So here I am taking the hay up, putting the hay up for Julia, who's in the barn. But you can see I'm taking breaks. So I put it up quickly because they tend to fall back if I don't do it fast enough. and then I take a break to unload more hay from the wagon while Julia is in the barn stacking the hay. So here I am just waiting for her to say she's ready, and then I put more up for her and then turn it off, and then while she's stacking, then I unload some more, and we just keep going back and forth. So we decided to switch. So here I am upstairs unloading while she's outside putting the hay up the hay ladder. So it was all going great. This was last weekend, the last Sunday, I think, and um, things were going really great. Weather was great, no rain in the forecast. And then it got dark and cloudy, and you can see here when things get out of hand, like right now, it was started to pour. And so we just put hay up really quickly. So this is us stacking the hay that we put up really quickly that I didn't have time to stack while it was coming up the hay ladder because it was just bale after bale after bale without a break.
Okay, so of course last weekend when we were doing hay right at the end, putting hay up in the barn, it had just started to rain, of course, our hay elevator broke. So what happened with it, let me see if I can show you here. So our motor is up there. It turns that wheel on the other side, and then rotates these. This bar, and I know none of the technical terms for any of this, so bear with me. So this generally has the chain over it. And generally there is this plate that goes over like that. But we've taken it off so we can start working on it. This popped off. And so it ended up sitting like that. And so the chain no longer moves forward, which means our belt no longer works. So you can see it completely popped out. So what that means is this whole bar right here runs through there, and just based on how this broke off was a complete, because this is very sharp and thin, complete snap off that whole bar. So we think that whole bar was one piece, which means, because I don't know if you can see in there, but it sits in there and it's not like overlapping or anything, which means now we have to take apart this whole bar, which is proving to be rather difficult to come out. The neighbor thinks we might have what did he call it? What was it? Like a pin something. Anyway, we might try to bust that out on that side, but because there's like no way to weld it back together, because how would you get in there? And I was thinking we could go get a smaller pipe and put it in here and attach it, and like a longer piece, and then put that through, and then pop through over here a hole for a screw and thread a screw the whole way through, and then that way it would lock it, and so it would turn. But in any case, what I'm trying to say is we're out of commission for a while with this hay elevator. So the neighbor very kindly brought his hay elevator over, and they call it different things here than we're used to, because we used to call it a hay ladder. People here call them hay elevators. Some people call them hay skeletons. Anyway, he brought his over, which was very nice. His also has its own issues, and so we are working on his motor runs. He didn't have a belt, and the pulley needed some work. So we just went to the store and got the pulley And then we also got the lock pin 1/8 inch square key stock plate for right there. And so now I'm just fastening everything together. I got the pulley put back on with the lock pin, got that secured. I put the belt on, and now I'm just adjusting the motor right into the right spot, and I'm going to test it here pretty soon. So the other thing that he was a little concerned about is, don't know how good you can see it, his pulleys are slightly bent. So like I can see right now from this angle that the top of the belt is not straight with the bottom. Don't know if you can see it there. So I'm hoping that won't affect the rotation too bad. I might try to adjust the motor a little bit more so that it is like level and square, but we'll see. So once I get this finished, Julia's going to come out and help me move it, because his hay elevator is a little bit shorter than ours, and you can see that's quite a steep grade anyway. Like, so much so that if I don't load this hay elevator with enough bales, they generally tend to fall off when they get closer to the top. So I think we're going to set up his hay elevator. Now, you guys, and we'll probably put it up on, I'm thinking at least 3 or 4 bales or some sort of platform, so that the pitch of the angle isn't so bad, like isn't so steep for getting the hay up into the barn, because the neighbor is over in his field right now raking, and I imagine he'll be ready to bring over a hay wagon full of hay this evening. So we need to get this thing set up. So our hay elevator is out of commission for a while, and I don't know if the neighbor is going to help us fix it, and that's totally fine. It's a little bit beyond what I have time for right now. And because we were thinking we would have one hay elevator out here and then one in the barn, but we've essentially stacked all the hay towards the back of the barn anyway, so having the second hay elevator in the barn right now isn't as useful now as it would have been a week ago. So we can get by with one hay elevator, and honestly, if we didn't have this hay elevator, or like the neighbor wanted to use his and take it home, we would just stack all of our hay in the machinery shed out here, which we've actually stacked a little bit of hay. Let me just go take you over there. So we ended up stacking about one wagon full of hay. So there's probably about 120 bales over here in here, just because we did have issues with the hay elevator last week. And it actually is working out really well. So my thought is, because I want to fence this whole space, and at some point have the fence go around here, go behind these evergreen trees, because this runs, you can see them over there, the whole length behind the house, and it meets back up with one of our front fields. And so what I want to do is fence in this little area here, have it circle behind the building and behind those evergreen trees, and be an alley to go up all the way to the front field, so that it'll be a small turnout, but it will make it so that I can have a pasture with a covered space. And I'm thinking for either our horses, if we start horse boarding, which would free up the back horse area, or in particular our donkey. So our donkey can't be out in the pastures with the horses because he's got laminitis, and so this would be a really good spot for him. It would also be a good spot for like when I've got lactating cows, because I'm setting up the milk room right there. So if I had my cows right over here, I could just walk them, all of 20 feet, and they'd be in the spot I need to milk. Or it could be a good spot for like future calves when I've got calves ready, because while I am milking over here, or will be milking over here, I could feed bottles over here, and it'd be nice and convenient. So anyway, long story short, so we've been stacking the hay in here, which will actually work out well, because if I've got horses or cows here in the winter, we will have hay here ready for them. And so I'm trying to stack rather high, because then that way I'll take up less floor space. So I could just gate off this side, and then the hay will be right here for them. Because if I didn't, especially in the fall and winter, it'd be kind of inconvenient if the hay is all the way in the second floor of the barn. It means I would have to walk it all the way out here and feed it. So it'll actually be kind of convenient just to have some hay here. In the future, I think this would be a really cool horse barn, because you can see it's broken into kind of 3 sections in the back. Well, there's 2 beams, so 3 panels worth. I think it would be really cool to have the sides be stalls all the way out, so I could get 4, looks like at least 12 by 12 stalls, and then this middle section could be just a big walkway. Perfect for enough room to turn your horse around, enough room to have a shelf or 2, and then I could do a hay loft up top, because this is a machinery shed and the ceiling is incredibly high. So I think at the beams, I think that's about 20 feet. So I could do a little hay loft here, and then I would have 4 more stalls, and I could either do calves, or I could do horses, I could do donkeys. It would really open up a lot of possibilities for me, and I don't think it would actually be too hard to do that, because, you know, the outside of the structure is already done. So I guess I'm probably just gonna start up that hay elevator and see if it works. And then if it's rubbing like too much, I might try to adjust it. But this will be the moment of truth. And then Julia and I are going to work on getting this hay elevator set up.
All right, so we are going to keep plugging along at hay, and we will give you guys another update later this week. Thanks for joining us.